let schools open. But they open to do what? When even teachers, the few teachers that were there, are now frying chapati, are making blocks. When the schools themselves have deteriorated beyond recognition, you're opening schools to do what? When parents can no longer afford to take their children even to school, we must have a reset, and we should work to have a reset before our school system opens. The private schools that have been destroyed, we must have a plan for rebuilding them. They have all been sold to the 1%. The health crisis is, which I have already talked about, is not any better. We must work to make sure that that ends as quickly as possible. So, ladies and gentlemen, you are going to read and discuss this crisis. Our businessmen are in the deepest crisis. Nowhere in the world do you find taxes like they are taxing business here. If you tax business so much like they are doing, how will business expand? And if business does not expand, how will you hope to get jobs? You are crying about lack of jobs, but you are killing business. The crisis of taxes, the crisis, all this crisis has been made deeper by the COVID-19 pandemic, the last 2 years. This crisis was there even before the COVID pandemic. It has been made much, much deeper. And that's why we would like to have an urgent, nationwide rallying around this crisis so that we remove it, ladies and gentlemen. I will leave the rest to you to read. It is all there. The segregation we talked about. How can you live in a country where the education we are talking about is controlled by the same family of the president? You have the president, he's the you have the somebody running the country. His wife is the one running education. His daughter is in health. His brother is in the one supplying all those who are poor, the one managing the drip for people who are in crisis, who opens the drip. There is no way you can have a country out of crisis with that kind of management. So, ladies and gentlemen, what we expect, even as we talk on this about this crisis, is that the abuse of rights, because how has this crisis continued? This crisis has continued because the Ugandans have been intimidated to keeping quiet and just following what they are doing. Everybody is scared to talk. Say they will kill us. They will take us by the drones. In fact, as we talk today, the deputy chair of our front, the Lord Mayor, is in Masaka Court trying to secure bail for Honorable Sewanyana and Honorable Segirinya. They are in court right now. The reason they are in court is not because Sewanyana, Segirinya murdered people as they are accused. It is simply to keep everybody intimidated and disorganized from focusing on the problems that we have. So, ladies and gentlemen, some people have been saying, if we take action, people's lives will be disrupted. That is another matter that we need to discuss. Shall we live in slavery so that there is no disruption of any kind? Is that what they suggest? And it is funny that this is being suggested by people in NRM whose coming to power left 500,000 people dead. And the scars are still there. They are now saying you must keep quiet and follow what we are saying so that there is no disruption. I beg your pardon. So, ladies and gentlemen, our clarion call, first, let us look at the crisis that affects our homes, that affects our children. Uganda's schools have been closed now for nearly 80 weeks. In the whole world, no country has closed their schools for longer than Uganda has. No country, of all countries of the world, no country has closed their schools longer. No country is still having their schools closed except Uganda. And that's why we must, as a matter of urgency, make sure that this stops, and it's only us to stop it. So, ladies and gentlemen, I wouldn't like to talk about the entire thing that is here. I want to give it to Ugandans to discuss, is there a crisis or there is no crisis? Is the crisis deep or it's not? Should we wait another time after 36 years of crisis, in fact 59 years of crisis, or should we act now? Our recommendation, which we shall be talking about in a short while after all the consultations have been completed, is that we must act. We must act to get rid of this crisis. Every Ugandan must unite around the crisis. Forget about the leaders, because some people spend a lot of time talking about Besigye. Besigye is not the crisis. Talk about the crisis. Do something about.
Kale, oyo ne Dr. Kiza Besigye ngayogerako eri bannakisinde abo ku biki bye balina okutandikirako nga batandise okwakala